craft all of your ads so that it's a cup half full perspective. You're always looking at the positive, the uplifting, the overflowing portion of what you're trying to accomplish together versus the negative and the scary stuff that you're trying to fix.
Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, the weekly show for nomads, work campers, RVers, and entrepreneurs looking to earn a living or build a business while enjoying the RV lifestyle. This week's host is Jim Nelson. Let's settle in and enjoy the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by RV Life.
Oh man, let's see. I've got my Meta Business Suite, the Ads Manager, Business Portfolio Assets, Tracking Pixel, Commerce Manager, Audience Targeting, Reach, Engagement, and Insights. Meta. Oh, hey, Jim here at RV Life. If you've ever run Facebook or Instagram ads for your business, you might feel the same way. Buried in a mess of Meta account madness, muttering, where do I even begin? Well, you're not alone. That's why I'm so excited to share my conversation with Amanda Robinson, aka the Digital Gal. Amanda is a certified Meta lead trainer, an international speaker, and founder of Swift Kick in the Ads, a hands-on membership community helping business owners master Meta ads without losing their minds. Oh, and Amanda is a well-traveled digital nomad who built her business on the road while chasing whales and dodging grasshoppers from one coast to the other. So if you've ever felt fed up with Meta ads, stick around. This chat is full of insights for RV entrepreneurs and anyone looking to get smarter about social advertising without wasting money or bandwidth. See what I did there? Insights? Get it? You will after this quick ad of our own. This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Oh, I am too. This is definitely a topic that all of our RV entrepreneurs and digital nomads need to know about. And that's, of course, going to be social media advertising. And you have some experience there. So since this is technically, though, the RV Life Entrepreneur Podcast, I'd love to ask a couple quick questions just to get to know people. And in your case, when did you first get the travel bug? When did you first discover nomadic life? And how is that any different now?
Well, I don't think I didn't go at it by choice in the way that most people would purchase an RV, load everything up, get all excited about their first trip and hit the road. I kind of went the backwards way of having a breakup, having to move, decided rather than moving to a new place, pack everything up in storage, take my car, my dog, all my camping gear, my laptop, and hit the road and just start traveling. So I did that probably around 6 or 7 years ago, where I took the leap, and it started with going from, I have tons of friends across all of the different states because I do a lot of digital marketing and I have friends everywhere from all of my digital marketing conferences. So I started with just meeting up with different friends in different states, and then that kind of turned into longer stints on the road and more adventures and more travels, everything from mountains to deserts to the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, everything in between, Canada, the United States, and realizing that I really have built a business where I can work from anywhere, and understanding how I can manage, time manage, and power resource manage while on the road. That unlocked basically an unlimited amount of travel, adventure, and exploring for me.
Fantastic. We'll get into all that fun business stuff you talked about in just a second there, but let's talk about the business mindset for a minute. What do you think it means to be an entrepreneur?
It means that You have an inspiration and a drive that is built into you that you can't control. You can't turn it off. It's part of you. You can suppress it. You can try and do a regular corporate job. You can try and, fit into a particular mold, but it's never going to work. You'll be happier if you just embrace the fact that your brain needs to be activated by creating things, doing things, or participating in a business idea and seeing that through.
It's so true. There are so many challenges, and there's no going back. So we learn how to adapt to those challenges and all. But let's step back just a minute here. Give me a little backstory about yourself and your previous life before you hit the road, before you started your own business. Where'd you gain your expertise about what you do?
So I didn't go to school for marketing. I didn't go to school to learn Facebook advertising. It didn't exist when I was in school. So this is something that definitely I evolved into. I started in a corporate life. I worked for Winners and HomeSense at their head office. And in the States, that's TJX, Marshalls, Home Goods. So the head office of that company. And it was very much a corporate life. And I wasn't really well suited for it. Wonderful company, wonderful people. Didn't really suit me well. And then eventually I ended up working in additional marketing companies, and I just kept feeling like I was going against the grain and not a good fit as an employee and wondering what's next. Well, eventually I realized that I had a little bit of a knack for digital ads when Facebook ads first became a thing. I started doing that for small community groups and other organizations, and I was wildly successful with those ads for those groups. So of course, word of mouth spread. And eventually that side hustle became an opportunity for me to make that my main hustle. And 10 years ago, I took the full leap to quit my corporate job and start my own business, having no knowledge of how hard it was actually going to be.
So that business is the Digital Gal. Which came first, the Digital Nomad or the Digital Gal business development?
The Digital Gal business came first, and I had created myself a business where I could work from anywhere. And this was, I would say, before, sort of the mainstream van life was a thing. But I knew I had the capability and technology to be able to work from anywhere, and I like to explore. So I always had the intention of creating a business that was independent of location. And so that was something I worked away at. I was living in Ontario at the time, where I was kind of split half and half between up north in cottage country and then down in Toronto. So I was constantly moving locations every week anyhow. And so I learned some really good business habits to build around being able to be mobile with the business. And then eventually, when the situation arose where I decided to pack everything in my car and just leave, I was already set up from a business perspective to be able to handle that.
So before that happened, were you kind of side gigging it and getting more and more hours on the side until it was comfortable to quit? Or how did that transition take place from the actual job?
There was nothing comfortable about it. And I wasn't really intentionally trying to build a business on the side. It just happened to be a little skill set that I fell into, and word of mouth spread, and people kept calling me. So I would take these little odd jobs on the side, and eventually the odd jobs became a lot more. And then I was really struggling to fit in with the corporate world, and I always felt like I was... I'm an effective employee, so to speak. I can produce really well, but under the circumstances of if I'm given the time to do it when my brain is active and excited. If I have to show up at 9 a.m. and clock out at 5 p.m. and accomplish the same within that time period, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I was always really struggling in a workplace. So eventually it just got to the point where the workplace was almost unbearable, and I needed to change. So I took the leap and I gave my 2 weeks notice and then decided, okay, now it's time to start taking on clients. I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm glad that I didn't know what I was doing, because if I knew then what I actually know now, I would have been too scared to commit and go through with it.
Sure.
But now that I've done it, oh my gosh, there's no way I would never go back. I'm so happy.
Well, that's so good to hear. But a lot of solopreneurs have a hard time making that final leap. And some people do the very structured way of making sure they have supplemented their income enough, and other people just have blind faith. What did you do? Did you have savings set aside and ready to it, or you just took that blind leap?
I ripped that Band-Aid off so hard, it hurt. No, I had no savings. I had no plan. I had no structure. I had no business plan. I didn't even know how much to charge for my first client. And now, fast forward 10 years later, and I'm extremely experienced in my niche of running Facebook and Instagram ads and working with Meta, working with different Meta programs. So that in itself, I mean, I look at the entrepreneur I was when I first started, and I wasn't an entrepreneur at that time. I was just a person trying to figure out my way in life. And it really wasn't until the last, I'd say 4 years, where my head has kind of snapped on straight as far as treating this as a business and really starting to grow the business in the directions that I want it to go, versus picking up the phone and saying yes every time somebody said, "Hey, can you do this?"
And on the travel side, you kind of had this kind of scary transition opportunity as well. A lot of people have trouble taking that leap onto the road. You seem to have been pushed into it, but it all worked out pretty well. What were some of the biggest challenges when taking that business and doing it from the road?
So the way that I kind of transitioned into doing this from the road was that, again, I had a lot of friends in a lot of different states. So I just planned a route where I said, okay, I plan on driving in this direction and hitting these states during these months. Who's around? Who wants to hang out? And so I had a lot of invites to go and stay with people at their house. So I first of all mapped out, a route where I would always have someone's house to stay at the beginning. And that's how I thought that was going to be a great approach. Turns out, trying to run a business and being hosted by people who are excited to see you at the same time, those things don't match. I was getting so burnt out with really amazing, wonderful people who were excited to host me, but wanted to have dinner together and wanted to chat or be a tourist and show me around and explore. But I still had working hours that I had to hold down, and trying to find the balance of being able to be grateful and excited to spend time with these people, but also get work done. It turns out those things really aren't compatible in a long-term solution. So eventually I had to learn that time by myself and time on the road by myself was so valuable. And that's how I was able to run the business. So it completely changed how I approach traveling and building in pockets of time for me to be alone in the desert, in places where I don't have to be around a lot of people for a long time.
And you can actually get some work done.
Exactly.
It is a big challenge. One of the best things is we make our own hours, and the worst things is we make our own hours. And a lot of people in the traditional default life don't understand it. And when we visit, they just want to talk to you all day long. And like you said, they want to go visit. So how did you help educate these people? Or did you just, like you said, split up your life, work and pleasure?
I had to learn how to manage my own schedule more appropriately. in that I had to plan for time to be on Zoom calls and plan for time to do client work, and then plan for time to meet and greet with people and be social and spend time. I have really had to plan. I had to carve out my schedule. I had to become an expert at managing my calendar, which I'm not very good with time and space to begin with. Time just sort of all blends into one for me. And I've had to learn some little tricks and habits to make sure I can book meetings and make those meetings. And even everything from understanding, if you're on the road, that if someone says, hey, let's get on a Zoom call, you can't just buffer a half an hour to then go and get on a Zoom call. Okay, in a half an hour, can I get to somewhere quiet? Can I get to somewhere with a power source? What about the lighting situation? What about the noise pollution? What's the nature of the call? So all of these things, all of these factors will change how much buffer time I need in order to get on that call. And when you wake up in the middle of the desert or in a campground and you've been wearing the same makeup for 3 days, you need to be on an interview or something of that nature that's getting recorded and published and produced. You need more buffer time.
Well, let's go there. Let's talk about some realities of working on the road here. You mentioned some pretty wild, say, what could possibly go wrong type of stories. Can you tell us about the grasshoppers or the whale or any other memorable travel meets business type of moments?
All right, we'll start with the grasshoppers. So I travel around with a giant battery pack and satellite internet, and I know that my battery pack charges while I drive, and I can pull off to the side of the road anywhere, find myself some shade, and I can work for 4 hours. So in that 4 hours, I have to make sure that I get my Zoom calls done, get the work done that I have to get accomplished, and I have to make sure I'm managing how hot it is and how much sun, because that can also impact my electronics. I've got a whole system. So the system seems to work flawlessly. But I pulled off the side of the highway, and I went down this dirt road and past some farmers' fields and into a little area that had some shade. I pulled out my swing chair and set up shop, and I worked for a good 4-hour period. Well, in that time, it had warmed up, and I packed everything back up and started to hit the road. I'm driving back out past the farmers' fields to get back out to the highway. And all across this big dirt road, there's all these little things tinging the windshield, and I didn't quite know what it was. And I had my windows open, I had my sunroof open, I've got my big Thule clamshell box on the top. Well, what was happening was the road was, when it warmed up, was all just full of these giant grasshoppers, like the size of my hand.
Sure.
And as I'm driving, they're all pinging, jumping up off the road, and they're smacking the top of the Thule and coming in through the open sunroof. So as I'm driving, I'm just filling up a boatload of live grasshoppers in the back of the car. And I've got the dog in the back, and I can see in the rearview mirror, I have this confusion over the sound of all that pinging. And then the dog is starting to get really uncomfortable in the back and make a fuss, and he never makes a fuss. So then my brain finally clues in. I go, oh no. I throw the brakes on. I'm on a dirt road. There's no one around, right? I throw the brakes on. I throw it in park. I open my door. I open on the back door, the car doors. I open everything, and I'm staring at hundreds of these grasshoppers in my car. So I try to clear them out as best I can. But of course, digital nomading in a vehicle, not an RV, nothing. I'm not equipped for proper storage. I am making the most of every ounce of usable space within that vehicle. Everything's packed so finely that I've got, in order for me, it would take me hours to unpack a car and try and get out all of the grasshoppers. So I'm in a scenario now where, and I get the heebie-jeebies over creepy crawlies and things that can move quickly. So here I am realizing I have to get on this highway and I have to drive this car. And I know there's live grasshoppers that are going to jump out randomly. And they did. And it was the squealing and the giggling and the pulling off to the side of the road and getting more grasshoppers off of me. That I don't want to relive that one ever again. But the one that I can relive is when I went, I had some Zoom calls that I had to do while taking my cousin camping here on the side of the beach here on Vancouver Island. And we set up shop late at night. The sun was just going down. We just got our tent set up by the time it got dark. And then we had a good night, slept, made our coffee the next morning. And I'm getting ready to do my Zoom calls. And all of a sudden, I see a whale in front of the bay, right in front of us. But it was right up close to shore, right where we were washing our dishes the night before. The tide had come in. And I saw a whale. I got so excited. I called my cousin, like, what? Whale? Whale? She comes rushing out. The dog comes rushing out. And we're watching these gray whales right in the bay, rubbing their bodies up on the shoreline to get the barnacles off. And it turns out where we had set up our tent was right where the whales were hanging, and they were there for days. So the whole time we were there, the whole time I'm on my Zoom calls, we've got whales literally feet away from us the whole time. And of course, when I set up my one Zoom call, I get on Zoom and people are starting to log on. And just in that moment, an orca shows up as well. And I'm just having like the biggest excited meltdown and trying to contain myself because I can't delay this Zoom call. I have to do the work. And at the same time, my electronics are only going to be powered for so many hours. So I have to make sure I'm making the best use of that time. But meanwhile, I'm like, this is a once in a lifetime experience I'm never going to have again. And I just couldn't reconcile what was happening. It was pretty exciting.
That's tough. It's that whole life-work balance that we struggle with so long when you have the beautiful sunset and the deadline at the same time. And it speaks to the unpredictable nature of being a digital nomad. So how do you manage consistency with clients while you're traveling? Do you keep a set schedule or how do you meet their expectations?
I've had to learn how to communicate better with clients over time rather than be reactive and find myself caught on the road with a dying battery and no connectivity where I thought I was going to have connectivity. So I need to prep my clients so that when I'm on the road and traveling, they need to know when I'm going to have a good stable connection and a solid guarantee that we can meet. And then I make sure that we bundle all of the important things into those meetings, and then the meetings where I'm on the road where there's a chance, if there's ever even a chance something could go wrong, it's going to go wrong.
Of course.
And so I make sure that I don't have any business critical deliverables for those clients during those times. And we work together to flow out that schedule as needed.
Smart tips there. That's great. All of this kind of also depends on certain technology, I'm sure. What's your essential tech setup when it comes to, say, internet connectivity? Do you have redundancy? What's the must-have gear that you have with you on the road?
So I actually have a US cell phone and I'm a Canadian. Part of the reason why is because when I was traveling, connectivity, I spent a lot of time in the States, and my connectivity with my Canadian cell didn't get me as far with data and data allowances at lower costs. So I look at my cell phone as sort of my backup connection. Sure. And then I carry a Starlink internet with me, and that's what I use now as the primary. Back in the day, before Starlink was a consumer accessible product, I was using this cellular this cellular connection unit that cost me hundreds and hundreds of dollars for all the data that I was using with it. So basically between Starlink and my cell phone as a backup, those are the two pieces that I coordinate with. And then I use a lot of Google Maps to figure out where I'm going and how much tree coverage there's going to be in that area. There are lots of campsites. You'll be very familiar with this, with having an RV and traveling to different campgrounds. Sometimes campgrounds are busy and you're going to take what you can get, right? And if there's tree coverage in that area, I can't set up shop and work for 4 hours right there. Right. I might have to haul all my gear up to a main area, a clearing. And then I've got all my electronics all set up there. And I also have to plan bio breaks around this too, because I can't enter into a 4-hour working situation with my battery and then all of a sudden need to pack everything up and go and find a washroom and not leave everything sitting behind. So it's just all these fine little details that I've refined over the years to figure out how to get the most out of where I'm traveling to, the probability of my connection, power management, and bio management.
Oh, sure. And you're juggling everything, as is most RV or nomadic entrepreneurs there. And we talked about some hardware there, but you also talk about a lot of planning, and we're going to get into the advertising and planning. Do you have any favorite apps or for project management or keeping clients on track? Do you have any platforms that you recommend or you use all the time?
So I'm personally using ClickUp that I use as a management tool to manage my schedule, my time, and manage my task deliverables for clients. And then just a mix of apps. I use Nimble as a CRM system. So that's how I keep a record of all the touch points that I've had with people, the conversations I've had. I tag them based on how I met them or different scenarios on how I need to recognize them. And I can curate all of their LinkedIn and social profile links all into one place. I use Calendly for my booking link, and I use Thinkific for my learning management system. So giving people access to my membership where they can become a member, sign up, and access an entire training replay library of resources through that. And that handles my monthly membership payments. Banking has been a real treat because I'm Canadian and I have US currency and Canadian currency, and people from around the world that will pay, that will become members. And depending on what payment system I'm using, some payment systems like Stripe versus PayPal will allow more transactions through without blocking them for potential fraud. So then there's all the admin of chasing those down. And then different banking systems in order to move money around from one place to another.
Wonderful. And I think we might dive into the community aspect and your community education platform a bit later. But let's talk about what we're talking about here. I mean, what you do for people and what everyone wants to hear about here, the Facebook advertising, the Instagram ads, dealing with Meta. You're the expert here. So tell me, first of all, what are some of the most common mistakes people make, small businesses in particular, and how can they avoid them when diving into, say, social media advertising? So
a little background on this. I'm a certified Meta lead trainer. I get to work face to face with a lot of small business owners, lots of businesses that don't have big budgets, who are learning how to do Facebook ads for their first time. And to put it in context, I have seen the back end of hundreds and hundreds of ad accounts, and I've worked with hundreds of business owners trying to figure this out for their first time. So as far as experience level goes on what I'm seeing from people starting and trying to get started and where they're stumbling, there are some really common little stumbling blocks. First of all, account setup, getting in and making sure that your Facebook and Instagram are properly connected to an ad account that is part of your business portfolio, and making sure that permissions are set up accurately and that you have two-factor authentication turned on. As simple as that may sound, if those things aren't talking to each other properly, you spend all these hours trying to get your ads up and running just to have them shut down and your ad account blocked within your first 48 hours of that ad running. So that's something to help get people fixed up and started out on the right foot with. Then when it comes to running your ads, I see a lot of people look at ads as in an ad, a single ad, the same way that you would approach putting an ad in a newspaper, making it look pretty, stuffing a whole bunch of text in, and launching one single creative and hoping that's going to solve all of your world problems. But realistically, the way you need to look at it is take the budget you have to work with, and we're going to pump in lots of different variations of ad creative into that to see what sticks. So the best way that I found to help business owners understand this is I use a lot of analogies. Mm-hmm. So look at your Facebook ads as though they are an organizational chart within a company. So in a company, you'll have the CEO at the top. Reporting into the CEO, you might have department managers. And then reporting into those department managers, you have employees. So let's look at your ads as though you have choices. You have the campaign at the top, which is like your CEO. And the whole purpose of that campaign is, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to get clicks to your site? Are we trying to get people to watch your videos? We make the big CEO choice. Within there, you've got your department managers, and they get to make different choices, such as budget and schedule. And then reporting to those department managers, you have the employees, and those are your ads. The ads don't make choices. The ads just go out there and carry out the work with the public. So you can have tons of employees in a company, or you can have one employee with the company. If you just hire one employee and put all your money with them, you better hope they're a top performer, but you don't know any better. Right. If we have a bunch of employees, some of them will perform better than others. The ones that are underperforming, you can let them go. You can fire them and then give the money to the ones that are top performers. So your ads are similar. So if you show up with one ad creative, that's like hiring one employee and hoping that they're a star employee. But you have the ability to show up and create a whole bunch of different ads, run them all inside one campaign. So they're all feeding off the same budget. And one of those is going to be a top performer. And that's the way that you can start incrementally moving your ad quality forward and lower those ad costs and get ahead of your competition. So a mistake that I see business owners make is approaching ads with one piece of ad creative and a whole bunch of budget and hoping that's going to be successful for them.
Hey RVers, let's be real. Your RV shower head isn't great. And even if you swapped it out for something better, chances are it's just a shinier version of the same old thing. And if you're really lucky, those stiff hoses kind of let you get wet, but definitely not where you want it. That's where Waterpik comes in. A global leader in water technology, they've designed the Transform RV showerhead to change the way you shower on the road, making it easier and more efficient to shower in tight RV spaces. While other RV showerheads have limited spray adjustments, the Transform RV's unique 360-degree pivoting head allows you to customize to any spray angle without having to remove it from the bracket. This means you can reach your desired spray area and shower with both hands free. This shower head doesn't just work better, it feels better. It's engineered to deliver powerful, consistent water flow. Its multiple spray settings are optimized to get the most out of your water tank. And with the new trickle switch, you can conserve water without that shocking blast of cold or hot water when you turn it back on. It's available in white, chrome, and nickel. The Waterpik Transform RV showerhead is ready to upgrade your RV shower. Head over to Amazon and check it out now.
That's a brilliant analogy, viewing, the ad or the advertising as like an organization. And because if you hire that one specialist, they're going to know about one thing. Whereas if you hire a number of generalists, they're each going to know something about each of these different levels. And I haven't done this a little bit. I want to get into some different aspects of it. But the first thing people tend to get overwhelmed with is just the setup that you mentioned. Yeah. You've got Meta, you've got the business portfolio, you've got ad manager, you've got shop manager if you're also doing e-commerce. So aside from just hiring someone, when someone wants to get into this, they're often daunted and they spend too much money too quickly and they never go back. Do you have any tips for someone like how to approach it, like from the beginning? Is there resources to learn from, or do you just pick up the phone and call Amanda?
I have lots of resources, including free resources that I can point you into if you're just getting started. A lot of the foundational pieces that I've got available for free, just so you can get up and started. One way I'll explain, when you're first getting started, all the accounts and all the different areas behind the scenes can be a little overwhelming and confusing. Again, loving my analogies here. Think about your Meta business suite or that business portfolio. Think of that like a big house. That's where we're going to house all of our important things. And those important things are assets. So if you have a house, you have furniture in it, you have different important, valuable pieces. When it comes to your Meta advertising or your Meta business suite, that's like your house, and your assets are your business page, your Instagram account, your ad account, your catalog if you're selling any items, your pixel. All of those are little assets that live inside that house. So your business portfolio is the main thing, and you can give people access to it in different ways. You never want to give someone else the title to your house if they don't own it. So don't add somebody to the entire business, but you can give a key code access to one room. So if somebody needs to access your page, just give them access to that page, that one asset inside of the business. So that's another way to look at how all of these pieces interconnect. But if I can give you one big tip, the best place to go, it can feel overwhelming. If you're logged into Facebook, you can just go to business.facebook.com, and that will bring you directly into your business suite. So that brings you directly into the big house.
It is a big house, because if you do have any sort of e-commerce going on, and then the tracking pixel on the website, so there's a big house with lots of rooms. It might be a mystery house, but you mentioned something about getting started and hiring those different employees, and it sounded as though the first step is determine the purpose for the campaign or the goal. Would that be where you begin?
So when you go to run ads, you have to make a decision on what the purpose of that campaign is going to be. And when it comes to Meta advertising, you have 6 choices. Among those 6 choices are things such as, do you want to send traffic to your website? That would be one of those 6 choices. Do you want to reach a lot of people? That would be another one of those 6 choices. Do you want people to engage with the post? Engagements are likes, clicks, comments, shares, video views. So that's another choice. Do you want to make sales? That's another choice. Do you want to get leads, people to fill out a form and collect their information? That's another choice. And finally, the other choice would be app promotion. So unless you have an app that you are promoting and that's registered with Meta developers, we're not going to be using that option. But all those other options, most business owners will kind of encounter at one way or another. But just know that all those choices that you're making at the very beginning of what kind of campaign you're going to run is greatly going to influence your costs and the number of people that you can reach with that. For example, if I had $100 and I was going to do a lead campaign where I wanted to collect people's email addresses, if I had a really sweet spot, good little offer that was very enticing to my audience to click on and fill out the form, we can probably ballpark around $1 per lead. Now, that varies greatly. I've worked with construction companies where they're paying $200 per lead. But let's just pretend $1 per lead. So if my $100 can get me 100 email addresses, that would be a well-performing campaign. That'd be great. But the way those campaigns deliver, I might only be reaching 2,000 people with that $100 for a lead campaign. Whereas if we instead do a reach campaign and we take our $100 and we put it into a reach campaign, we might reach 100,000, 200,000 people with that $100. but those people aren't being asked to do anything.
Right.
So imagine the difference of driving by a highway billboard. You're not supposed to do anything. You're just seeing it. You're getting an impression, and that's it. So those campaigns are what I call very cheap and cheerful. Great for building awareness. You're going to lots of different eyeballs are going to see your content, but they're not going to take action.
Right.
So the further up the scale we go in requiring people to take action, the more expensive your ads get and the less people you're going to reach. So for example, if we just want eyeballs to see it, doesn't cost very much. If we want people to interact with our content on the platform without leaving Facebook or leaving Instagram, then that's not very expensive either. If then we're asking people to click on a link and leave their experience and go over to your website, it's going to cost you a little bit more. And then finally, if we're asking them for their data in return, so I want your email address, phone number, that's even more. And then finally, if I'm saying, hey, I actually want to make money, I want sales, I want people to purchase my thing, that's going to cost us even more. So on that sliding scale, depending on how much budget you have to work with, if you have $500 a month to spend on your ads, we're not going straight for a sales campaign if you don't have a proper setup with your pixel catalog, a really good funnel. We're not going to touch that. Whereas if you have $5,000 to work with in a month, we're not just going to dump that all into reach campaigns. So you want to have a nice healthy mix depending on the volume of budget you have to work with and your target market. And the other part to that, the other question I get asked very frequently is, well, how much money do we need to spend in order to make this successful? And I usually start with people by asking, what's the value of the main thing you're selling? So for example, with me, I run a membership that's called Swift Kick in the Ads. It's $49. And that's not a huge price point, so I don't have to spend a lot of money in ads to achieve that goal. If you were selling a course that was $3,000, then you need to be spending at least $3,000 to try to get people into that program. And it doesn't mean $3,000 on a conversion ad. It's just that $3,000 could be broken into a mix of campaigns that are helping move your customers forward into putting them in a purchase position. Yeah. But if you have, if you're selling t-shirts and they're $35, you could probably get away with smaller budgets. If you're selling a $20,000 renovation on a house, then you're probably going to need to be investing more than that.
Yeah, and it sounds like, as with many things for entrepreneurs, it comes back to knowing the why, and to do it smartly, figure out what your purpose is with doing the campaign, and use one of take one of those different routes, whether you want to grow engagement or actually drive traffic to a website, which is what we had done in the past. But having done this a little bit, I kind of broke out some ideas, and I'd want to see whether they're the right things to focus on, or correct me if I'm wrong. After you know your why, would it come down to targeting? Because in my particular case, while you think about that, Tripods is a pet amputation support community. So we're talking about a niche of a micro niche. So when it comes to companies that have a very micro niche business, it was really difficult for us to get ROI, because when I did really analyze and try and get the reach, with the current categories that are available and trying to target certain people, it was really difficult to reach the audience we needed to make it worth our while. So do you have any tips on targeting or talk about the importance of that?
Yeah, targeting has greatly changed in the last year and a half, I would say. So when Meta started rolling out their Advantage Plus suite of AI tools, everything changed. Wow. So Advantage Plus, essentially anytime you see that in the back end of Meta's advertising, it means AI is helping you. It's augmenting that for you. We see Advantage Plus targeting with targeting. We see it with your creative. We see it with your budget. We see it in lots of areas. But targeting specifically, Advantage Plus targeting is trying to help you expand your audiences to reach new people. Something we're seeing happen a lot more is that it almost seems like Meta is struggling to reach audience sizes, like volumes of audience. So the more narrow you go with your niche, the smaller your audience size becomes, and the harder it is for those ads to deliver at a reasonable cost. So let's give an example of, let's pretend we were dropping a pin on the map right around where I am right now and doing a 5-mile radius. Might reach 100,000 people here. technically on paper, we can reach 100,000 people, but of those 100,000, not all of them are actively online with their Meta accounts at the period of time when I'm running my ads. So let's cut that number in half. So now we're at 50,000. Well, of those 50,000 people, now we have competition. So the people that I'm trying to target with my ads are also being targeted by thousands of other advertisers, and we're all competing with quality of our ads to get shown in the newsfeed or get shown in high quality ad placements. There's not a lot of ad inventory of people if we don't have a large volume of people interacting on these platforms. So the smaller we go, we're taking that 50,000 and now we're making it high competition. Well, now maybe I can only reach 10,000 of those with the quality of my ads. And then of those 10,000 people, did I get my messaging right to really attract them in the right way? So we need volume of audience to work with. So a million plus is an ideal scenario now when it comes to ad targeting. And if you're a local business that's brick and mortar and has, a driving radius, you're stuck with the population size you have to work with, and you have to change out your ad creative more frequently. So when it comes to targeting, we used to be able to get really narrow and really specific with our detailed targeting, with our behaviors and interests, job titles, all sorts of things. Well, now that Advantage Plus has come along, it's trying to help solve that problem of us getting too narrow and not having enough inventory to deliver those ads out appropriately. So what it's doing is it's taking the information that you're giving the system to say, hey, we want to reach pet owners with pets in these unique scenarios. And it's saying, okay, thanks for the suggestion on who you'd like us to reach. We're going to go out and reach those people and some other people that may also be interested in that category that you may not have thought of. And so it's going to expand out those audience sizes, and it's going to reach beyond who you're originally asking for. It's going to bring your ad costs down. It's going to reach more people. And in some cases, it can be really effective. But the more niche your audience is, the more difficult that becomes.
So definitely. This AI stuff sounds intriguing. It's been a few years since we actually were into this, and we were having a hard time, building an audience of a couple thousand. So the cost per imprint was like, it didn't work out so well. So we might have to try that again. But after you've got the targeting down and you know your why, I would guess it kind of comes down to some creative and content. So how do you stand out with creative in these ads when users are being bombarded with an endless feed and getting jaded against clicking on stuff?
So when it comes to creative, your creative is your targeting nowadays.
Oh.
So when it came to the Advantage Plus targeting coming into play and expanding your audiences out really wide, now the system is really relying on what's in your creative. AI is looking at your image, and it knows contextually if you have a dog in the image, if that dog is a beagle, if there's a female or a male in the photo with the dog. Are there mountains in the background? AI can dissect the imagery as well as the text that you're accompanying with that ad to contextually put that ad in front of relevant people. So your image, your creative, and your text is your targeting at this point. So it's even more critical now that your ad reflects the audience that you're trying to attract. That being said, so if you have, in your case, if you're looking after pets that have faced amputation, then you'd want to have imagery that reflects that in there so that people can connect and resonate with that. If you are servicing an older age demographic, then you want to make sure that those are the people that you have in your ads, that it's very reflective of that to help connect it to the right people. If you are trying to target a younger demographic, you might want to focus on platform-specific ads going after Instagram. Those are going to be more expensive than Facebook. So if you just put your ads out on Meta in general, Facebook is going to soak up all that budget and it's going to skew older. So instead, breaking it up by platform and tailoring your creative to more of a vertical format so that it suits it well for stories and reels is another superpower for your creative. And last tip for creative is that for now, and this is rapidly evolving and changing, but when you show up to upload an ad, a specific ad creative, you need a square image and a vertical image. And the reason being is if you try to take a a vertical image and put it into a newsfeed, it's things are going to be covered up. The top and bottom are getting cut off. If you try and take a square image and put that into a vertical format, it can be seen as a lower quality ad and not compete as well against other advertisers. So if you tailor your creative to the placements on where those ads are going to be showing up, you have a higher chance at a higher quality ad and your ads being served more.
Interesting. So we may need to look into this again, because I hope the algorithms have gotten smarter, because when crafting our ads in the past, we were often denied thinking we were selling animals, which is not allowed. And then some imagery of amputee animals was denied for being obscene. So hopefully those algorithms have got a bit better. But then we talk about, creative is how's your ads going to look. So talk to me about the content and the messaging of the ad. You have a very short number of words, and people are, seeing all these ads. And like I said, they don't want to click on stuff anymore. They're just being advertised against all the time. So how do we build trust and make that connection in the milliseconds you have scrolling by with a few words?
I'm glad you put it in that way, the milliseconds that you have. Just know that your ads aren't going to achieve everything. They're not the be all and end all of your marketing. They're just one tool that's built to capture attention. And that's just what the ads have to do. The ads have to get that initial click or that initial interaction. They will perform better if you have some type of emotional tie or emotional hook in them. But I'll give you a pro tip. Your ads need to be positive. A lot of us are trying to solve a problem, and it's all too easy to focus on, are you struggling with this really hard thing and it's really difficult? We have a solution. Instead, how can you flip that script and look at the positive of it? Saying something along the lines of, we understand how it can be challenging, but let's focus on all of the people who are having success making this so much easier for you. There's a way, if you can give a positive spin. If I can give you that one tip, is craft all of your ads so that it's a cup half full perspective. You're always looking at the positive, the uplifting, the overflowing portion of what you're trying to accomplish together versus the negative and the scary stuff that you're trying to fix. And that's going to go a long way when it comes to how your ads are ranking. Meta's not going to circulate a lot of depressing, sad content to their users. They're going to be circulating a lot of helpful, uplifting, exciting, inspiring, positive emotion evoking content. So if you can focus your ads, the visuals need to be conveying those positive messages, and the text that you have to work with, you have a really short amount of time to capture that attention and give people context. So the ad has to give people an immediate understanding of what is this that I'm looking at without having to read a giant paragraph of text to get there. And then your ads are accompanied by generally like a little tiny snippet of text, usually one sentence before it hits that ... see more to expand the text to read. So that above the fold or that that first sentence really has to accompany that imagery to help bring people across that finish line of understanding, is this for me or is this not for me? So don't waste that first sentence of text that you have available, and don't waste the opportunity to capture that attention with something positive and emotional to be able to get people to stop that scroll. Even if they stop the scroll for 2 seconds, that's an accomplishment.
I hope all the listeners paid attention to that be positive part, because there's so much negative stuff in the feeds as it is. It's interesting to hear you say that Meta is actually going to show more positive messaging. And I wonder, do they have built-in AI copywriting assistance as well? Or would you recommend people massage that message before plugging it in?
Yeah. So when you go to create an ad, you create your campaign, then you set up your ad set choices, and then you get to the ad levels. This is like the employee that's going out and facing the public and doing the work. You put in your image, and then you upload what text you want, but it will give you suggestions, AI generated text as alternate text suggestions. You can have up to 5 variants of text within one single ad. And my recommendation is use them. You don't have to use the exact AI suggestions they're giving you. Sometimes they're not a great fit for your business, but I do recommend using multiple variations of text accompanying one single ad, because it gives you, what Meta will do is they will mix and match that messaging and pair that with your image and then deliver that to people in a way that they think people are more likely to respond. So if you have you as the business owner are generally too close to your business to understand what moves the needle for people. So you might think that this messaging is really strong and this is why people come to me for this service. Meanwhile, I'll give you an example from my business. People aren't coming to me because they want to learn how to do ads for themselves. People are coming to me because they're stuck on one problem, and it's usually something tangled up in their accounts, and they've tried getting a hold of Meta, they've tried talking to friends, they've tried everything, and it's a full stop point. They can't get past it. So when I can be referred, recommended, I come in and I can solve their problem for them on the spot, get them moving forward, make them feel comfortable, confident, then that's how I end up moving people into my programs. So that initial stuck point, I think people want to learn Facebook ads. They don't. Nobody wants to do this. They don't want to do ads for themselves. They want to pay somebody else to do it for them. Right? But it's a lot of money.
They want to get over that hurdle.
But they do want to get unstuck. So when it comes to your messaging, if you can put in that message and then use those 5 different text variants to be able to position your messaging from those different angles, and then the system is going to mix and match when it delivers those ads, mix and match that messaging, and it's going to start delivering the one that is more successful. It's going to start delivering that one more.
And I think that would lend to the importance of insights, because these algorithms are going to determine who sees which message with which creative according to these choices you set up. So talk to me about how often to check, or what exactly to look for in these insights. Some people tend to get overwhelmed and check it every day. And, talk to me about the importance of analytics when it comes to Facebook advertising.
It is the be all and end all. There are people who will run ads and never look at their analytics, and they will not be successful. But the people who can when you run the ad, that's just one step. But then answering the question, did it work? That's how you can learn and make changes and grow forward. So when it comes to your insights, when I first launch a campaign for someone, or if you launch your first campaign, within the first 48 hours, I highly recommend you what I call babysit that campaign. You go in and spot check the settings. So you put it up, you ran it. And by the way, just for context, this is, if you are boosting posts, that's okay. That's fine. But you need to get inside Ads Manager, and that's the dashboard we're going to be using to look at how well these ads performed. Did they work? Did they not work? So that's on desktop through your business suite, business.facebook.com. Look for Ads Manager, and you're looking at your campaigns. So inside there's a whole dashboard of numbers, and it can feel really overwhelming. But the things that I want you to do is in the first 48 hours of running that ad, I want you to go in and spot check. There's a little breakdowns menu where you can break the information down by age, by gender, by region that these ads are delivering. And the key thing here is by placement. So when you go to run your ads on Meta, there are lots of different places your ads can show up. They can show up on Facebook, on Instagram, and within those platforms, they can show up in the news feed. They can show up in stories. They can show up in Reels. They can show up in Marketplace. They can also show up inside this thing called the Audience Network. And the Audience Network is not on Facebook or Instagram. It's a separate feed. Imagine apps. You're playing a game of Scrabble on an app, and then when you want to move to the next level, you have to look at an ad. So we'll picture it like that. So in some cases, those ads, if people are clicking, they're not clicking on your ad because they're like, "Ooh, I'm excited that I can buy supplements." No, they're just trying to make your ad go away so they get into your game. But those clicks count. So if clicks are taking place in less desirable placements for you, then the system is assuming this is a good thing, and it's going to keep delivering more of your ads into that placement versus another. So high quality placements that you're looking for are the Facebook newsfeed, the Instagram newsfeed, Instagram stories, and Instagram and Facebook Reels. Those are going to be some of your higher quality placements. They're also more expensive. So to spot check to see if your campaign is performing in a healthy manner is to go in and look at what age range are my ads delivering to. If that matches your ideal customer, great. Gender, if you are a female-based business and your ads are delivering to 18 to 24-year-old males, that might not be serving you proper. And then placements. If you're selling something but you're getting all these clicks and it's all coming from Marketplace, when you go on Marketplace, those ads are a tiny postage stamp thumbnail, and it doesn't have a lot of the accompanying text or even context. So you might have ads running rampant over in Marketplace, getting tons of clicks, and then people are abandoning those clicks, and it's not serving you well. So in the first 24 to 48 hours, go in and spot check, use that breakdowns menu, and look at how these ads are delivering. And then you can adjust it, edit those settings, and take out certain placements or put in different inputs for your targeting. And then you can sort of manipulate that campaign to go in a better direction for you.
Well, wonderful. I'm guessing the first few days are kind of vital with these because you're setting a daily budget and that budget is going to get spent. So the sooner you can see whether or not it's performing, you want to edit things immediately and then kind of dial it in?
Yes, but it's going to take 24 to 48 hours for your campaign to start delivering and start normalizing. And then we also have this thing called the learning phase, which is where your ads are going to start delivering to your audience. But the system has to kind of determine, of the million plus people that you could potentially reach, we've only served it to about 1,000 of those people. Are they the right people? And how it determines that is, depending on the objective that you originally chose, can the campaign achieve 50 of those goals within a 7-day period of time? Meaning, if you're asking for link clicks, if your ad campaign hits 50 link clicks within the first 2 days, then it exits the learning phase. If your ad campaign within 7 days can't hit 50 link clicks, you never exit the learning phase. So while the campaign is brand spanking new in the first 24 to 48 hours, or if it's within that learning phase, you can't really trust the data, but you can see right away in the first 24 to 48 hours if it's delivering to the wrong people, and it's all going to marketplace. So there are some things that you can evaluate fairly early on, but you do have to be patient, and please don't go in and try to change all the settings day after day after day. You need time for these campaigns to percolate, for them to have a chance at calibrating and reaching the right people. And with lead ads in particular, you'll notice that after the first 3 or 4 days, or even after the first week, they start to get better and better with time.
This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. This makes sense that you have to kind of let things percolate a little bit to get some actual enough data there to realize whether or not it's on the right track. Tweak something, a little A/B type thing that didn't work. Try, if not, then that, and move on from there. So we've talked about targeting. First of all, the why, the targeting, the creative, the messaging, but oftentimes it comes down to budget and timing. Small businesses and solopreneurs, we want fast results. Do you have any, and these things take time. I mean, like you're saying here, you got to spend some money, you got to have some money set aside, and you got to have the time and the effort to put into it if you're not having someone do it for you. So do you have is there any sort of quick win strategy for a small budget?
So typically, I'm going to throw a timeline in here. I usually tell people 3 months. You need about 3 months before you really get a handle on what's working and what's not. And within that 3 months, if you're a brand new ad account, or you've maybe only been boosting a couple posts here and there, or you've been boosting those posts and it's been going off your personal ad account, because all of us have a personal ad account. And then now you realize, oh wait, I have a business account that I have to be spending off of. So you're spending on an ad account that's brand new, doesn't have any history. That ad account doesn't know who to reach. Out of that million plus population size of audience you're targeting, and your budget, maybe you only have $50 and you're only going to reach, 3,000 people. Well, how does Meta choose the first 3,000, the right 3,000 out of that million people audience to put your ads in front of? It needs to learn, and there's lots of ways it can learn. If you have a pixel on your website, it's going to learn data from that. People interacting with your Facebook page, it's going to learn from that. People watching videos that you put out, people interacting with content that is from similar advertisers, that's how it's going to learn, but that takes time. So the more you can get content in front of people that resonates and have them like, click, comment, share, react, watch videos, or click to your site off of that content, the system is going to learn. And those are building audiences behind the scenes of people that have engaged with your page that you can retarget later on down the road with more ads. But when you're starting out fresh, you don't have any of that data. So the system needs to get an opportunity to put your content out in front of people, see how they're reacting. So to go from a brand new fresh ad account into woohoo, major success generally isn't going to happen in your first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And you yourself need some time to learn, okay, I think that this type of imagery really works. And you go out there and your ad costs are a little high. So then you go back to the drawing board, go back to Canva, create some different images, go back out there and realize, oh, wow, that picture when we put the puppy in really, really works. So over time, you'll learn what your audience resonates with and you'll create new campaigns. Start slow at first. So run campaigns that are only running for, say, a week. Test out a couple creatives and then create a new campaign based on what you learned from that first one. So you need to be testing your way forward over time. And when you first start out, you don't have a warm audience of people to target. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be targeting cold audiences of new people who have never met you before. So we need to make a really good first impression and we need to reach a lot of people. So in the beginning, you might be doing campaigns that are more reach related or more engagement related, keeping people on the platform. As you start to figure out what mix of content is working, then as we go forward, now we might start getting people to click and leave Meta's experience and go to your website. And so now we've got people engaging with us on the platform and people clicking and leaving the platform. And then over time, then we can start moving it into, all right, now that we've got people who know who we are, now they're engaging with us, they're engaging with posts multiple times. Let's see if we can get their information or get them to sign up for our email list. Or depending on the price point of what you're selling, get them into a sales position. Mm-hmm. But those things can happen as quickly as you want if you have a massive budget.
Sure.
Or for the most part, most of us business owners are going to be spending a conservative amount of money and you're testing your way along as you go. So I would recommend you can go into, there's an audiences section inside your Meta Business Suite. Go in there, create an audience of people who have engaged with your Facebook and create an audience of people who have engaged with your Instagram. And then check back on those audiences frequently. And when those audiences hit around 5,000 people or more, you're doing great. Then it's time to start retargeting and getting back out in front of those people more often. If those audience sizes are under 5,000, you probably still need to put more effort and work into just reaching more people and putting content out on the platform in an on-platform experience.
I hope everyone's taking notes or is going to rewind this and play this over and over because you've provided so many helpful tips. It really kind of addresses how quickly people can get discouraged, not just with the difficulty and the challenge of setting all this up, but the expectations of results and such. But you say you're a Meta lead trainer. What is that? And do you have any inside tips or maybe some myths to bust?
So as a certified Meta lead trainer, I've been trained with Meta on how they like teaching to be delivered in a way that really helps business owners understand. With me running the Digital Gal business and my Swift Kick in the Ads membership program, I've been doing that for so long that I've had so much hands-on experience. And I can see how easy it is for people to get discouraged. So with the experience level that I have and how many snags and hurdles I've seen business owners run into along the way, working with someone like me, doesn't have to be me, but working with someone like me who has the experience level to get you unstuck quickly is going to alleviate a lot of that pain and frustration and help keep you inspired in your business and getting you closer to results faster with the small dollar amounts that you have to work with to stretch it as far as you can. So don't get discouraged. If you get yourself stuck, you can always reach out to someone like myself or reach out to someone else that you know who works on Meta ad accounts on the regular. But I really encourage you to find someone who has experience working with small business, or if you're an e-com, work with somebody who has experience with e-commerce, because not all of us ads managers are the same. I work a lot with real estate. You can't really add a house to cart and check it out and, retarget abandoned carts on that. So if you are going to someone who has e-commerce experience and looking for help on how do I make my real estate ads better, it's going to be a struggle. So there are lots of people out there who can help you. don't hesitate to seek them out and ask. But I wouldn't recommend paying, $3,000 for a pre-recorded course. That's not going to help move you forward.
Speaking for myself, I can definitely see the benefit of some sort of educational content or consultation just to get through that initial phase and some onboarding and then be let loose on my own. So we'll drop some links in the show notes there. But going forward from here, are there any, say, paid social advertising trends to pay attention to, or something coming down the line in 2025 that people should be aware of?
I would continue to reinforce a message that we've been hearing for years, in that you need to be building your email list. So social media platforms are always changing. They're always evolving. Costs are changing. Tactics are changing. Creative is changing. And AI is about to throw all of us for a big loop. Everything's going to change. But building your own database of contact information of people who are the right fit for you, is that data has so much value to you, and having permission to use that data because you have collected that information, have permission. Doesn't matter how we evolve moving forward with our digital marketing and social media tactics, growing your email list is a focus that I think a lot of small business owners overlook while they're trying to achieve sales. That meta advertising can be a really good supporting partner to help you grow your lists and reach people in ways that other platforms can't at those costs. So take advantage of it as a tool in your marketing tackle box, and not necessarily a zero to sales solution.
Definitely pay attention to that email part, and perhaps focus on the lead generation ads is what I take away from that. With all of this being so overwhelming, top that on top of, the challenges of traveling, do you have any advice for coping with burnout when running a digital business like this?
Oh, I'm actually just coming out of that myself.
Aren't we all, right?
But I find that in my case, it's not necessarily the overwhelm of the workload and overwhelm of, the challenges of how much it changes. I think that for a lot of us who work in a digital business, if our fingers are on this keyboard, we can make money. And it's very hard to put boundaries around saying, no, I need to take the weekend off and go and do something else. One of the things that I've started doing, putting more focus into, is having non-digital activities that I do, whether that's coloring or painting or walking the dog. But I'm a bit of I'm a total digital nerd, digital geek. So I have everything from VR headsets to drones. I fly drones as a hobby, but those are still digital screens. And when I process the information, the data for photography, that's still on a screen. So I've had to learn to take a step back and find non-digital things and move my mind outside of, just because I can touch the keyboard and answer that email doesn't mean I should be right now, because the scheduling part is scheduling in the right time to do the activities is a big game changer, and not being hard on yourself. There's too much to learn, and it changes. This is my full-time gig. Right. I have been paying my own paycheck for 10 years plus, based on these platforms changing every day. So if this is my full-time and this is not your full-time, don't expect that you're going to be able to keep up with the changes, and don't be hard on yourself if everything changes under your feet within a week. It's okay. You can't do it all. Find yourself the communities that can support you, whether that's a Facebook group of people where you ask a question and they can respond, whether that's finding something like my Swift Kick in the Ads membership group of people, or whether that's finding yourself a business group, a mentorship, something. You need to be able to reach out and rely on a community of people to help you move forward with how quickly things change. And you got to give yourself some time and some grace to know that you can't do it all as a business owner.
And like you said, stop beating yourself up when you think you've done it wrong, and reach out for help when you need it, and realize you need it before you actually need it. As usual, this always comes back to the power of community. And since everyone listening is in it to make some money here, tell me a bit about that Swift Kick in the Ads. What kind of program are you offering, or where can people learn more?
So you can follow me everywhere at The Digital Gal. You can go to thedigitalgal.com to see all of my offerings. But specifically, if you do want to get a Swift Kick in the Ads and learn how to do Facebook ads for yourself, we have open office hours every Monday on Zoom where people can join and talk to myself, talk to me, a real human, and get help with whatever you're working on, whether that be having me look at your ad account and say, are these ads even working? Or showing some ad creative and saying, what do you think? Will this work? Should I tweak it? Or looking for a strategy and saying, okay, I have $150 that I'm willing to try an ad with. Where do I start? All of those are great scenarios for joining us over in Swift Kick in the Ads. It's only $49. You can cancel anytime. But trust me, once you get in, you're going to love it. You're going to hang out with us for a long time.
Amanda, thank you so much. You've shared just a wealth of information here. I could probably talk to you for another couple hours about this stuff, and everyone listening needs to learn more about it if they have any idea about getting into social media advertising at all. So, Amanda, thanks so much for your time.
I thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate this.
Wow, I hope you were taking notes. Big thanks to Amanda for such a helpful conversation with so many pro tips. I hope you caught just how important it is to set clear goals for your ad campaigns before you ever spend a dime. Whether you're aiming for reach, engagement, leads, or sales, that foundation shapes everything else. It's good to know Meta's AI tools are getting smarter to help you with your targeting, creative, and messaging too. But remember, this stuff takes time. Meta ads aren't magic money-making machines. In fact, they can be a good way to burn through your budget if you don't babysit them. Success and ROI take testing, tweaking, and yes, a fair amount of money before you start seeing real results. Amanda reminded us how powerful it is to build a community around your business, to reach out when you get stuck, and not to try to do it alone. That's why we encourage you to join the discussion in the RVE Entrepreneur Facebook group. But she also reinforced something we all need to hear more often. Your email list is gold. Start building it now if you haven't already, or keep growing it if you have. Check the RVE archives for episodes with some email marketing experts. Don't forget how creative is everything. Your messaging, your visuals, that's your first impression. And you have milliseconds to grab attention. So make it count. Check your insights. Wash, rinse, repeat. Give yourself time, ask for help, and don't be afraid to experiment. And if you're considering diving down the meta ads rabbit hole, remember,
just know that your ads aren't going to achieve everything. They're not the be-all and end-all of all of your marketing.
Ever found yourself lost in the middle of nowhere with no signal? With the RV Life app, that's a thing of the past. Enjoy reliable offline navigation, lane guidance, and turn-by-turn voice directions, ensuring you're always on the right path. Navigate the open road with ease and confidence. Visit RVLife.com to download the app today and start exploring without limits.